Hey, good morning. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. Well, I've been off for a couple of days. I'm sorry. I hope you all had a good Father's Day. I did. I had a great Father's Day. Kelly and the kids spoiled me to death, and just always reminds me how fortunate I am, how blessed I am to be a father. I hope you all feel the same and have the same experience. I want to talk about something that I just read that may be, in my opinion, what brings about a civil war. I had somebody ask me by email to go into more detail about something that I had discussed about that previous thing they called the Civil War, and I will. Not today, but I will, because very few people understand the truth of that situation, and it has been responsible for forming the political understanding of so many in our country. It wasn't a civil war, but I'll get into that on another one. I just wanted to answer that. The big, just as way of kind of an explanation, the big C-19 finally got me. That's why I've been off for a couple of days, and so if I'm a little bit hoarse or whatever, that's why. You know, it's amazing that I did almost 2 years in a hospital security situation. Never got it, and I was in the middle of it all. I was in the middle of the ER and wrestling folks and ICU and the ER and hauling bodies down to the morgue, and I never got it. And go lay down, buddy. My dog wants to be in here. And Kelly and I went to her high school reunion last week, and darned if it didn't get me. It got quite a few at that thing, apparently. So now I'm a fortunate experiencer of a super spreader, apparently. She's okay. One of the boys isn't feeling too good. We'll see about that. But anyway, I have it, but I'm feeling better. And you know what? Just kind of I had a fever one night and felt pretty rough for a couple of days last week. And then ever since then, it's kind of been, I've been tired, been kind of logy, you know. I told somebody it's kind of a peacefully stoned feeling, I guess. I've never been peacefully stoned, but if that's what it is, it ain't bad, you know. It's kind of giving me some rest, and you know, you don't get excited about too many things. But anyway, so that's what's going on with me, and I'm sure I'm on the mend and doing all the stuff that I'm supposed to do to make it better, but not getting the you-know-what, right? And that's why I left the hospital. So, one more thing before I get into the Civil War, and it's also to answer a couple of your all's questions. And I'll say right here, for anybody who has popped into this channel and is right now saying, why don't you get to the point? Well, you see, this is a different channel than many, and I view this channel as kind of a community. I enjoy talking to our subscribers, and I enjoy, you know, hearing back from them in the comments. And this isn't a channel to where I come on and just start yelling and screaming about how the sky is falling and you'd better do this by tomorrow or else, or anything like that. This is a conversation. It's a community, and if you don't like it, get out of here. You know, because if you leave a comment like that, I'm gonna get you out of here. So just hold your horses, and if you don't like it, go someplace else. But for those of you who are, you know, our people, a couple of questions that people had. Somebody asked about the progress of the hardback of the Stonemont series. Yes, that is still in the work. As with so many things, these things just take longer than I want them to. But yes, it's still in the works. Somebody just asked, I just got an email this morning, as a matter of fact, about the next series. First off, asking how they could get autographed copies of the first series, the Stonemont series. For those of you who don't know, I'm a writer. That's what I do for a living, and I wrote the Stonemont series, and I didn't bring the books out here with me today. I should have, because I am getting tired of Sandy Hook Promise putting all their ads on these, and and I put the link down here to my books, the Stonemont series, and there's a way that you can get them through Amazon, or there's a way you can get them from me, autographed. And either way is great. It takes you a lot longer to get them from me autographed because I don't specialize in shipping, right? Amazon does. But so they asked how to get them in autographed, and the information is going to be down here in the information box, and a pinned comment, and also about the next series that I'm writing. Yes, I am writing another series. I started a while back. It's still in the process, but the Stonemont series has developed into such a series, and I have so many other things going on. There's also news about an audio way. I'll be announcing that hopefully in the next month. Anyway, enough of that. Those are the basics. Just wanted to touch on those. So what's the thing that may bring about an actual civil war, as opposed to what the last thing was? I just read last night, and we've all talked about this. What could bring about, the next big thing? Everybody has a different idea, and I'll be honest. I've never really had an opinion on one thing that would bring it about until last night. I read, and I don't remember the source. If I think about it, I'll put it up as a link over on the Patreon channel. And many of those of you who are on Patreon, you know that when I put stuff the same thing on the Patreon channel, I'll often put links to the source material down there. If you're not on Patreon, please come join us. You need to be over there. I cover so much stuff over there that you need to know that I cannot put on YouTube about self-defense and firearms and what's coming and other types of things. And the link also is down there. But I read yesterday that, what was it? It was AP and ABC, and I think a couple of other outlets. Just a second. Wait for that truck to go by. Steve, get out of the suburbs. Don't worry, I'm fine. I have my plans, and I like the suburbs. That they have put out articles and was it tweets or something, many of which they have since taken down, in which they're talking about the Democrats expanding their majorities in both the House and the Senate in the upcoming off-year elections. Now, that stands out on its own, doesn't it? Because we are all expecting a giant red wave. And by all historical accounts, this ought to be a bloodbath for the Democrats. And I've said as much myself. And others have said, well, they're going to cheat. Yeah, we know they're going to cheat. Because they always do. They always have. They've been cheating since, oh gosh, I don't know, probably, I was going to say the 1930s, but they've been cheating long before that. The interesting thing here, though, is that these major news outlets have actually come out with information on their banner heads, claiming that the Dems are going to increase their majorities. I mean, that flies in the face of all reason, doesn't it? So if they're saying that, and they don't like to be wrong. Now some of this could be like a push-pull, right? Some of this could be like, well, we're putting this out there to kind of, because there's so much information coming out about how horrible it's going to be for the Dems. We're just going to put this out there as kind of a balance and see, running up the flagpole and see who salutes it, as it were, and see what happens. Kind of a pushback, and we're not meant to be serious. And it's so far out from the elections that that could be it, because they still have time, as Rush used to say. You know, they use their polls, they use their articles to drive public opinion. But the closer it gets to an election, the closer to the truth you're going to hear from them, because above all, they want to be seen as right. They don't want to be seen as wrong, because that costs them their credibility. And you know, they've already lost all of it among thinking people. They don't want to lose it against the non-thinkers as well, I suppose. So it could be that. The other thing that it could be is that they know. That they have some inside information. Well, you know, inside information, because the Dems and the mainstream media are one and the same. But they have, let me put it this way, they have reason to believe that it actually would happen. So they're taking that. You gonna eat somebody, buddy? Somebody trying to sneak up on me? Nobody can sneak up on me with him around. Yeah, do they have reason to believe that this would really happen? Now, what if that happened? We know all of the dishonesty that has occurred over the last a long time, right? People on the right, people who are conservative or traditionalists, have one hope, really, one hope left. If this doesn't turn around on these off-year elections, and I know there are people out there saying, you shouldn't hope for that, you're an idiot. Relax, Jack. You know, you don't know any more than anybody else does. And those of us who, you know, I won't say live in hope, but who feel that it's important to continuing to participate in the process to the greatest extent that we can, until it's in our minds hopeless. And if we disagree, that's okay. That's those of us who feel that way are going to continue to. You know. But this is the pretty much the last straw in most right-leaning Americans as how they will. I think anyway. It's the last test. Let me put it that way. It's the last test of whether or not we should continue to play the political game. I'll put it that way. And after all the dishonesty and all of the problems that we know we have, the inflation, economics, the border, the so-called, you know, situation in Ukraine, shutting down our, you know, destroying our energy independence, destroying the economy, destroying American families. If that should result, like I said, in a bloodbath. If it doesn't, and if the Democrats picked up majorities, I think that might be the spark of a true civil war. I think it would, because then it would be beyond a doubt, beyond any doubt, that there is no rule of law left in our country. And I know there are some of you that will say, there's already no doubt. Well, okay. You know. Okay. You see, what you don't realize is I felt that way back in the 90s. Okay? So you're not saying anything that's new to me. I felt that way. Heck, I felt that way in the 70s, and then Reagan came along. And then I felt that way in the 90s. And whatever. But I think that would be, I think that might be the spark that really sets one off, because it will be beyond the ability of any of us at that point, I think, to continue to hold to the position that a political solution is possible. Does that make sense? That's my opinion. That's what I think could happen. We're awaiting the. Now, what should you do about it? You know what you should do about it. I'll talk about it in a minute. We're awaiting the decisions, the Supreme Court decisions on that case that might overthrow Roe. Also, a Second Amendment related decision, and some others. Some of you might be familiar, and we know that this country, if that decision comes down, the way that we think it's come down to, this country is going to explode. That will be the fire that ignites the fuse if there is a Democratic victory in November. Some of you are familiar with this Jane's Revenge organization that has promised a night of rage whenever the decision comes down. I'm going to be making one about that over on American Reversion, so if you want to talk more about that, join us over there. But they're getting ready, and when it comes down, this Jane's Revenge organization has they're calling for everyone who supports abortion to commit violence anywhere and everywhere and against anyone and everyone, everywhere. If that, and these people are really something, they're nuts. If that happens, the nightly, weekendly Chicago, Baltimore, LA, Kansas City shooting figures, and the Summer of Love Antifa BLM things could seem pale in comparison. So that's something to be careful about. Here's what you need to do. If you don't already know, you probably do know what to do. Think about what a civil war would actually mean. Prices are high. It's not as easy to stockpile now as it once was. If you're already stockpiled, I would encourage you to keep on stockpiling while you can. Think about what a real civil war would be. It would be a shutdown, a potential shutdown of commerce, of the financial system, of the communication system. It could be all of the worst things that we talk about and we think about and that we prepare for. Because, like the last Civil War, like the Revolution, I misspoke there. That last one was not a civil war. I meant to say what they call the Civil War. Like Mel Gibson's character said in The Patriot, there's not going to be front lines. There's not going to be a bunch of soldiers meeting out on the battlefield and everybody else can just come watch. It's going to be among our houses, among our communities, among our families perhaps. That's a sad state of affairs, but those who wondered how that last thing back in the 1800s could split families, nobody could imagine how they could split families. We've seen how families can split over a poke, haven't we? But it will make, in my opinion, it could make pretty much everything collapse. So you have to be ready for a collapse. You have to be ready for everything to collapse. You have to be ready to lose your job. You have to be ready to lose essential services. You have to be ready to lose your food source if you rely on that. You have to be your own source. It's time to think about, if you haven't already, it's time to seriously think about who is your group, who is your support group, if these things happen. And that's kind of what my next book series is about. And since since I don't have the energy to do much of anything but sit around right now. Maybe I'll get back to working on that one this afternoon, because it can be very complicated, and it's certainly something to think about it. And it's much more complicated than it can be covered in, you know, YouTube videos or comments or anything like that. Anyway, I'm gonna talk a little bit later over on American Reversion about this Jane's Revenge, for those of you who are interested. But consider, because I think that it's a very real possibility, that if things go all flipped this next election the way we think they should, just like they did the last one. We know what happened to the last one. If that happens this time, that could be what sets off a true civil war. And I think a true civil war is more horrible than most people can even imagine. And it is only going to be the most prepared, the most able, and that means physically, mentally, and emotionally, those who are willing to do what it takes, have an understanding of what it takes, will make it through. And who knows what kind of world it will be when we come out the other side. Who knows? But you've got to have everything that it takes to get there. Okay. I'll probably be back to talk more about this tomorrow, because I'm sure that I'll watch this and go, wow, Craig, you were really obtuse on that. You look like you have C19. So if I was a little logy today, I apologize. But you all remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And the greater the challenge, the greater you have to be prepared for it. So anything, you take a look at anything that you think you might be a little bit weak on, go out there and tighten it up, because you may not have much more time. You all have a good day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.